In the bustling courtyard of Buckingham Palace, under the afternoon sun, a vivid clash unfolded that laid bare the stark difference between intimidation and true authority. Darren Mitchell, a 28-year-old thug from East London, stormed through the crowd with his snarling Rottweiler, Ripper, at his side, his every step dripping with menace. With faded tattoos snaking up his neck and a scowl etched onto his shaved head, Darren thrived on fear. He terrorized children, taunted the elderly, and laughed as tourists scattered in panic. His power was a shallow thing, built on the shaky foundation of threats and the menacing growls of his poorly trained dog. When he locked eyes on a lone royal guard, standing motionless in his scarlet tunic and bearskin cap, Darren saw a challenge, a symbol of order he instinctively despised, and a target he thought he could break. He unleashed Ripper, expecting the guard to flinch or flee, believing his dog's ferocity would cement his dominance. But what happened next flipped the script entirely. The guard, Lance Corporal James Harrington, didn't budge. His eyes stayed fixed forward, his posture a testament to centuries of disciplined tradition. In an astonishing twist, Ripper halted just feet from impact, his aggression melting away as he sank to the ground in submission. Darren's tool of intimidation had betrayed him, drawn instead to the quiet, unshakable authority radiating from Harrington. A former military K-9 handler who'd served 4 years in Afghanistan, Harrington didn't need to shout or strike. He commanded Ripper with a subtle gesture and a calm word, revealing a strength rooted in trust and respect, not fear. While Darren's world revolved around forcing obedience through cruelty, Harrington's was built on earning it through consistency and genuine leadership. As Darren's bravado crumbled and he fled in humiliation, the crowd watched in awe, witnessing a profound truth. Intimidation is a hollow shell, crumbling under pressure, while true authority stands firm, unshaken by chaos. Harrington's victory wasn't just over a thug and his dog, it was a demonstration that real power doesn't bully or boast. It inspires and endures, a lesson etched into the cobblestones of that historic courtyard for all to see. On a sunlit afternoon outside Buckingham Palace, the power of discipline and training took center stage in a dramatic encounter that left onlookers speechless. Darren Mitchell, a rough-edged thug from East London, strutted through the crowd with his muscular Rottweiler, Ripper, a dog he'd molded into a weapon through harsh, abusive methods. With a spiked collar glinting in the light and a history of pit fighting, Ripper was a force of raw aggression, trained to lunge at Darren's command and instill fear in anyone who crossed his path. When Darren set his sights on a royal guard standing rigid at his post, he saw an easy mark, someone bound by protocol, unable to react, and unleashed Ripper with a sharp attack, expecting chaos to erupt. But the guard, Lance Corporal James Harrington, turned the moment into a masterclass in disciplined training. A veteran of 4 years with the military K-9 unit in Afghanistan, Harrington had worked with dogs that sniffed out explosives and braved gunfire, forging bonds of trust through skill, not force. As Ripper charged, Harrington stood unflinching, his ceremonial stillness masking a deep well of expertise. Just 3 feet from impact, the dog faltered, then stopped, dropping to his belly in submission, an act that defied years of Darren's brutal conditioning. With a quiet stand and a subtle hand signal, Harrington took command, and Ripper obeyed instantly, rising with a precision that mirrored the guard's own disciplined stance. "Your dog is trained," Harrington later remarked. "Poorly trained, but trained nonetheless," pointing out the scars and worn fur where Darren's spiked collar had bitten into Ripper's neck. Unlike Darren's reliance on pain to dominate, Harrington's approach channeled the dog's natural instincts into purpose, proving that true training builds partnership, not subservience. As Ripper sat alert by his side, responding to commands Darren could never achieve, the crowd, saw a transformation, a fighting dog reborn as a disciplined canine under the guard's steady hand. Harrington's triumph wasn't just a win over a thug, it was a testament to the enduring power of discipline and training, a force so potent it could rewrite a dog's instincts and silence a bully's chaos in seconds, all without raising a voice. In the historic courtyard of Buckingham Palace, under the watchful eyes of tourists, Darren Mitchell's bullying tactics met their match and crumbled in spectacular fashion. A 28-year-old tough guy from East London, Darren carried himself with a swagger born of street fights and prison time, his faded tattoos and shaved head a badge of intimidation. With his snarling Rottweiler, Ripper, straining at a spiked collar, he pushed through the crowd, reveling in the fear he sparked. Children scattered, an elderly man stumbled, and a young couple dropped their phone in panic as he taunted them with his dog's menacing lunges. For Darren, this was power, the ability to disrupt and dominate through sheer aggression. When he spotted a lone royal guard standing motionless in his scarlet tunic and bearskin cap, Darren saw the ultimate challenge, a symbol of order he could break with his chaos. Mocking the guard as a toy soldier, he unleashed Ripper with a barked attack, certain the dog's ferocity would shatter the guard's stoic facade and prove his dominance. But his bullying playbook failed him in seconds. The guard, Lance Corporal James Harrington, didn't flinch as Ripper charged, and just 3 feet from impact, the dog stopped, collapsing into submission before the guard's unshaken presence. Darren's weapon of fear turned against him. Ripper ignored his furious commands, instead crawling to Harrington's polished boots in a display of loyalty Darren couldn't fathom. His plan to humiliate the guard backfired, as Harrington, a seasoned K-9 handler from Afghanistan, took control with a calm word and a subtle gesture, exposing the fragility of Darren's tactics. What Darren hadn't counted on was the guard's quiet strength, forged in real combat zones, not street corners. As his bravado dissolved into rage and disbelief, Darren lunged forward, only to be halted by Ripper's protective growl, a final blow to his crumbling ego. With the crowd watching, he fled in disgrace, pursued by security, his bullying reduced to a hollow echo against the cobblestones. This wasn't just a thug's defeat. It was proof that intimidation, no matter how loud or fierce, collapses when it meets a force it can't bend, leaving Darren a fool and his tactics a lesson in failure. Beneath the afternoon sun at Buckingham Palace, a tense encounter between a thug and a royal guard unfolded into a powerful lesson about responsibility toward animals. Darren Mitchell, a 28-year-old from East London, muscled through the crowd with his Rottweiler, Ripper, a dog he treated more like a weapon than a living being. With a spiked collar cutting into his neck and scars marking his dark coat, Ripper was a product of Darren's harsh world, trained through pain and fear to snarl and lunge at anyone in his path. Darren wielded him like a tool, terrorizing kids, taunting the elderly, and laughing as tourists recoiled, seeing the dog as an extension of his own intimidating swagger. When he targeted a royal guard, unleashing Ripper with a cruel attack, he assumed the dog's aggression would bend to his will as always. But the guard, Lance Corporal James Harrington, revealed a starkly different approach. A former K-9 handler from Afghanistan, Harrington saw beyond Ripper's snarling exterior to the intelligent creature beneath. As the dog charged, only to stop and submit just 3 feet away, Harrington didn't flinch. He extended a gloved hand in a quiet stand, guiding Ripper into obedience with respect, not force. "A dog isn't a possession," he later told Darren, his voice steady as he pointed out the worn fur and old wounds from years of mistreatment. Unlike Darren, who ruled through a chain leash and threats, Harrington understood responsibility. Animals deserve care that honors their instincts, not abuse that breaks them. With subtle signals, he transformed Ripper from a feared fighter into a disciplined partner, sitting calmly by his side. No spikes, no cruelty, just trust. "You've failed to honor him," Harrington said, his words cutting through Darren's protests about ownership, driving home that a Rottweiler's strength and smarts demand proper stewardship, not exploitation. As Darren fled, humiliated by his own dog's loyalty to the guard, the crowd saw the truth. Ripper wasn't just a beast to be controlled. He was a living being craving the respect Darren never gave. Harrington's quiet victory wasn't only over a bully, it was a stand for the duty we owe animals, to nurture their potential, not twist it into something cruel, a principle etched into that moment for all to witness. In the shadow of Buckingham Palace, where tourists snapped photos under a blazing afternoon sun, a royal guard's quiet strength emerged victorious in a confrontation that spoke volumes without a raised voice. Darren Mitchell, a 28-year-old thug from East London, barged through the crowd with his Rottweiler, Ripper, a snarling symbol of his loud, aggressive world. With combat boots scraping the cobblestones and a smirk twisting his tattooed neck, Darren thrived on chaos, scaring kids, jostling the elderly, and mocking the guard's stillness as weakness. He saw the scarlet-clad figure, rifle at rest and eyes fixed forward, as a toy soldier, an easy target for his bullying bravado. Unleashing Ripper with a sharp attack, Darren expected the guard's discipline to crack under the dog's ferocity, proving his dominance in a blaze of noise and fear. But Lance Corporal James Harrington, the guard on duty, turned the tables with a strength so subtle it stunned the courtyard into silence. A veteran of Afghanistan's K-9 units, Harrington didn't shout or flinch as Ripper charged. 3 feet from impact, the dog stopped, dropping to his belly in submission. With a calm stand and a barely-there gesture, Harrington took command, his voice low but resonant with authority, forged in combat zones far tougher than Darren's streets. This wasn't the hollow strength of intimidation Darren wielded. It was a quiet power, rooted in discipline and years of mastering himself and his craft. As Ripper sat obediently by his side, ignoring Darren's furious yells, the thug's bluster unraveled. His threats, his dog, his control slipped away, leaving him exposed as the weaker man. Harrington's triumph wasn't loud or showy. It was in his unshaken stance, his measured words about trust and training, and the way he turned a weapon of fear into a testament to respect. While Darren fled, chased by security and his own humiliation, the crowd marveled at the guard who'd won without a fight. This was quiet strength in its purest form, not dominating through force, but prevailing through composure and character, a victory that echoed beyond the palace gates. It proved what Darren couldn't grasp. True power doesn't need to roar. It stands firm, steady, and silent, outlasting the noise of those who mistake volume for might. On a sun-soaked afternoon at Buckingham Palace, the cobblestones bore witness to a scene of karmic justice that left the crowd buzzing with satisfaction and awe. Darren Mitchell, a 28-year-old thug from East London, swaggered through the throng of tourists, his Rottweiler, Ripper, a snarling extension of his menacing intent. With a spiked collar and a history of violence, the dog matched Darren's aggression as he intimidated everyone in his path. Children cried, an elderly couple retreated, and a young woman dropped her phone in fear, all while Darren laughed, feeding off their panic. His sights soon settled on a royal guard, a figure of stillness in his red tunic, and Darren unleashed Ripper with a gleeful attack, expecting to topple this symbol of order with his chaos. But justice had other plans. The guard, Lance Corporal James Harrington, a seasoned K-9 handler from Afghanistan, stood firm, and within seconds, Ripper halted his charge, submitting to Harrington's quiet authority instead of Darren's loud cruelty. The crowd, once gripped by alarm, held its breath as the dog sat obediently by the guard's side, ignoring Darren's desperate commands. This wasn't just a failure of a thug's plan, it was a poetic reversal. As Harrington calmly schooled Darren on respect and training, the bully's bravado melted into rage, then fear, until he lunged in frustration, only for Ripper to protect the guard, forcing Darren to stumble back, dignity in tatters. With a final yell of "Call him off!" he turned and ran, his earlier swagger replaced by a frantic sprint through the palace gates, chased by security. The crowd parted to let him pass, their faces shifting from terror to delight, some barely hiding smirks at this textbook comeuppance. Phones that had been stashed in fear now emerged to capture the moment. A thug undone by his own weapon, a guard triumphant without breaking protocol. Their murmurs of "Did you see that?" and gasps of amazement rippled through the air, reflecting a shared thrill at seeing justice served so neatly. Darren's downfall and Harrington's rise weren't just a personal clash. They were a public spectacle of karma at work, proving to every onlooker that arrogance breeds its own ruin, while discipline reaps its quiet reward. As we age, life teaches us that true strength isn't about being the loudest or the toughest. It's about the quiet dignity we carry through our actions. The story of the Royal Guard and the thug reminds us that respect, earned through consistency and care, holds more power than fear ever could. For those of us over 40 who've raised families, tended gardens, or even cared for pets, this rings true. The way we treat what's in our charge, be it a child, a friend, or a loyal dog, shapes who we are. Bullying might get quick results, but it falls apart when challenged by someone steady, someone who's mastered themselves first. We've seen this in our own lives, maybe in standing firm during tough times or guiding others with patience instead of force. And there's justice in it too. The crowd's delight when the thug ran shows that doing right, even quietly, gets noticed. So, as seniors, let's lean on that wisdom, lead with respect, nurture with care, and trust that our quiet strength will outlast any storm. It's a legacy worth leaving.